Hey everybody, Joe Venorni, Cherry the Geek TV. We are here at San Diego Comic-Con.
No, we aren't really. It's a fake backdrop. We're in Peoria, Illinois.
We're in Peoria, Illinois at the fake San Diego Comic-Con 2022. And look who it is. Legendary comic book writer, illustrator, Jim Starlin. Jim, you were here today, San Diego Comic-Con. We're celebrating 50 years of you being in the business. When was the moment in your youth when you... what was the moment where it clicked, where you're like, oh, this drawing, this comic strips, doing artwork as a career? Was there a specific moment that you can recall where it clicked in your brain, like, oh, this is something I want to do?
Well, I started loving drawing when I was about 8 years old because my dad worked at Chrysler, and he figured one of his fringe benefits was stuffing his briefcase at the end of the day with much tracing paper, number 2 pencils, and masking tape as he could get in there and get out the door with. And so he thought he was going to use it for his woodworking hobby, but I discovered I could trace comics and put little drawings up on the wall. And then when I was around 12 or something, I was looking through at an adventure comic book, you know, one of the Superboy ones. And up until then, nobody got credit for what they were doing. But there was this Green Arrow story in the background, in the back of the book, and Lee Elias had signed his name into the foliage, hidden away. And I saw it, and suddenly went off in my head that people actually do these. These things are not just magically produced here for us kids to read. Someone's actually doing it for a living. And so by the time I got into high school and that, I realized I was going to be completely useless for anything other than this. So that's where I sort of dedicated myself from that point on.
You started in Marvel early 70s?
Around 71,
72. So pre that time when you joined them, you had legends like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko. Were they're your gods? So talk about what they meant to you as an artist. I mean, I know that they probably mean it a lot to everybody, in that time, but what specifically did they mean to you?
Well, Jack was just Jack. Jack was incredible. And Steve, I actually met, and he allowed me to come visit him in his studio when I was 16 years old. Met him years later, didn't remember me at all, which I thought was even nicer, the fact that I was completely oblivious, remember thing that happened in the past to him. But no, those two were the master storytellers, and those were the things that hit me. Joe Kubert on his Sergeant Rock stuff was very much in the same line. The other artists, that I really liked, like Gil Kane and Carmine, they were designers, or they had a terrific style that I liked. But it was the storytellers that always hit me, and those were my gods.
How has the business changed in the 50 years that you've been involved? And what are the things that maybe existed in the early days that you thought that you didn't like at the time that now you look back on and you kind of appreciate?
Well, in the early days, we had to chip it out on slabs of stone. But no, in the early days for coloring, since it was all being done, you colored up little Xerox pages and they sent it off, and you only had 72 colors you could work with. And then they sent it off to this windowless room in New Jersey where little old ladies separated it onto plastic plates by hand. Now I go upstairs onto my computer and I've got infinite amount of colors that I can choose from and go down at the end of the day, and I don't have any dye on my hands. So that's nice. The production, the fact that there are so many more publishers now, the fact that you are not as dependent as an artist to get your name out there by going and having to work for those 2 publishers. You can do it in other ways now. Just everything that's happened in the last 50 years has changed everything. So, I could go on all day like this.
Now, you've created some legendary characters, Drax, Gamora, Thanos, who would later, and you wrote the Infinity Gauntlet, which would later turn into be the inspiration for one of the biggest film of all time, the Avengers: Infinity War. So that movie made like $1 billion. What was your cut of that? You must be loaded, right? You got like what, 5%, 10%?
Oh, they every week they come with a dump truck full of money and they just pour it onto my driveway and then they drive off. So I really can't tell you how much it is. It's like billions.
There you go.
No, they've been generous.
That's good.
But I'm not. I'm not Microsoft rich or anything like that.
When you were writing, creating Thanos and writing that, I mean the film and TV comic book thing wasn't even a seed yet, other than like the CBS Marvel stuff from the 70s. Did you ever, in your wildest dream, when you were like creating that character or writing Infinity Gauntlet, imagine like my work would be the inspiration?
Thanos was so strange and esoteric. I mean, all the beginning movies were like Spider-Man, Batman, very straight up good guys, bad guys. Thanos, on the other hand, is what Thanos is. You know, he's appetite without satisfaction, and that makes him complicated. And so, no, I never thought that at all until like 2 days before the Avengers movie came out. Somebody told me he was in it at the end, so I went to watch it like everybody else, and I was surprised as hell that he looked as good as he did.
Well, it's been a great 50 years in the business. What would you like your legacy to be? When you look back?
Break 100.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us. This is the great Jim Starlin. Thank you so much for chatting with us on Cherry the Geek TV. Have a great San Diego.
Right.
Have a great Peoria Comic Con.
Yes. Hello, Peoria.
Thanks, Jim.
All right.